Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Innerviews, where we speak to the people behind the businesses in South Africa. And today I'm very excited to be chatting with Eben Lingenfelder. Eben, will you please tell us a little bit more about your business and why you started it?
Hi, Melanie. Thank you very much for having me. So my business right now is called clickresults. It's myself and a partner. We help small businesses to attract more clients, to make more sales, and to get their businesses growing again. So this started about 10 years ago when I started dabbling with WordPress websites. The internet just always fascinated me, how Google works, social media, and how everything fits together. I think back in the day, this was about 2008. I built my first website. Started off with what we call HTML, of work to do, and it didn't look too flash. As a developer with a developer background, I tend to be lazy and to find the shortcuts to get the work done quicker. That led me to WordPress. And I remember my wife and I got engaged in 2009, and we had to import the little disposable cameras for the wedding reception. We couldn't find them locally, so I had to import them through my wife's cousin. He brought them over when he came to the wedding. And I just felt, this was early 2010 when we got married. I just felt in this day and age, you have to be able to find these products locally. So that was my first real venture into entrepreneurship. Built a little website, went to bed. I remember the evening, went to bed. Next morning, I'd wake up to just sales rolling in. And it was tumbleweeds. There was nothing. So there was about 2-3 weeks where I couldn't understand it. I've built the website. It's right up there. I mean, it says exactly what I do. It says disposable cameras. Products are there. Nobody else does them. Just no sales. So there was probably about a 2-3 week period where I was trying to figure out, why is nobody finding me? Why is nobody contacting me? That led me down the path of the Google Analytics and measuring how many people are coming to the website. To my shock, there was no one there. And then I had to start investigating or researching how to get traffic to the website. That led me to Google Ads at the time. So we don't do Google Ads anymore, but it worked beautifully. I think that's when the penny dropped for me about the whole online marketing thing. I recall setting up the Google Ads, pressing start, and then it was maybe 2 hours before the first sale came in. And I remember there was a time where I'd switch it off to see if the sales would come in when it's turned off, and the sales would stop immediately. Turn it on again, sales would roll in again. So I think that was just a moment where I realized how powerful this can be. I'd always heard about the stories of people doing the whole online marketing thing. So that was a little business that I did while I was still a software developer. So that made some nice little pocket money, but it ended up me going to the post office every afternoon after work, after having packed 3 or 4 or 5 orders, bubble wrapping everything, having to count stock, filling in labels, so that it became like a bit of a chore eventually. I then explored how to not do all the admin work myself. I found a good that owned a Postnet at the time, so he stored the products for me, so I could just forward an email and he would send them out for me, just for the courier fee. So that worked very well. That became a little more of a hands-off thing then. I just had to make sure that there are sales coming in. AdWords became a bit expensive. I had to explore other traffic channels. That led me to what we call SEO, so organic traffic from Google. So that's what I learned from that website, and that's what I still do today. It's very much on the SEO side of things. That enabled me to stop the Google ads, which was nice, but I got a cease and desist letter from lawyers, and I had to import from different countries because I was going direct to China, but there was design rights implications, so I had to get it from the people that own the design rights, and then exchange rates, and eventually the business kind of died down because of just some complications. But after having learned all those skills from that specific little business, I started implementing a lot of those things for friends and family members, and they would talk to 1 or 2 other people. So over the course of from about 2013 all the way up until 2018, I had a bunch of little clients that I would help with their websites. So it was really more of a hobby business than anything else.
Mm.
2018, my software development job, they announced I would be doing retrenchments. So I'd always had this thing nagging at me saying that one day I want to be my own boss. I definitely had an illusion about it. I was thinking golf every second week and lying in late in the mornings. So that's never happened. Maybe one day still. So that's a goal. But yeah, so when they announced retrenchments, I remember some people were super sad about the announcement and they didn't have a plan B. They didn't know what was going to happen. And I think I was maybe one of the very few that was actually interested in it. So I eventually volunteered for retrenchment, knowing I had this little side business going already. And I spoke to my wife at the time. So we've got 3 boys. We had the bond and all of these things going on, and she's a teacher. So it was a bit of a big decision to make. But I think she also knew that I'd always wanted to do it. And it was like we were given a sign. So made the big call. The first year was pretty easy to doing this full time, as in service delivery, building websites, doing SEO, delivering marketing services. But yeah, the second year was a lot tougher. We're now in the third year. I've now got a partner in the business, which helps a lot. But yeah, business can be very tough. I think I've learned how little I know about business. So I now know how little I know. But that's a fun part of the progression. And yeah, I love reading about business books and marketing books, listening to podcasts. So yeah, I was very excited to hear about your podcasts, and that's when I reached out. So very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. That's really awesome. I think your story will resonate for a lot of people who've kind of created something online and then nobody showed up.
Yes, that's unfortunately a sad thing that I see happening very often. There are people proclaiming to be experts at these things, selling courses on how to build online businesses. So I've got a bit of in Afrikaans we say, ek het 'n kleintjie dood daaraan. It's a bit of it annoys me a little bit because I tend to make it sound very easy to do, and it most definitely is not. There's lots of pros to running an online business, definitely. But there is some fierce competition out there. So yeah, that is a reality. I see some people in Facebook groups that are struggling to get to where they want to be. But I think I also want to applaud them for giving it a shot and trying it. And I've seen some really cool businesses that start up from just online that have grown very big. So yeah, it is an exciting space to be in.
Now, you mentioned that the second year became very tough for you. What happened in the second year that was so tough?
So I think there's a little thing when you first start out where friends and family, because it's a new thing, they definitely keep you in mind and they'll talk about what you've started to their friends and their network. And I think what happens after a year, more or less, people have become accustomed to a person doing a new business. And then for them, it's not a new thing anymore. They kind of put that in the back of their minds. So one thing that I've learned now in the last year and a bit, and that's put my business on a good track now, is building relationships and networking with people, and making sure people are. So when you build strong enough relationships, you don't really have to constantly remind people about what you do. If they get to know you well enough and know what your business does, who your ideal clients are. And I know that sounds like it doesn't always apply to the online space, but I think it still does. Even like what we are doing right now is we're both building our network, and being more visible to folks interested in the same space as we are. And I've seen people in the online world, they tend to not meet up too often. So this year's been a bit of a deurmekaar one, but typically the online entrepreneurs tend to be a little bit in their own space. And I used to be like that for a very long time, being a software developer. I mean, that's what we do. We just sit and pound the keyboard. Seeing the value now of meeting as many people as possible. And that's the one thing that I did as soon as I started my own business, was to, whenever I saw someone in the same space, anything online marketing, I would reach out to them and try to go have coffee with them to learn what they are doing and learn from the struggles they've had. I think the one thing that I really enjoy is there's something to be learned from everyone out there. The most successful people, we tend to think that most successful people always have the most valuable lessons. But I think there's a lot of value for people that are more or less in the same boat as you, or the same space. And there may be those that are just one or two steps above you. Because I think those people still, in their minds, it's still very fresh what your struggles might be. So the super successful people, they've gone way past the struggles that I might be experiencing right now. So they might not identify that well with me anymore.
And you know what you're saying really resonates with me when I look at these online courses and things that people are presenting, and they're like, I've made so many millions of dollars this year, and you just have to implement it like this and it's going to work. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
So I will be the first to admit I've been on a number of those courses back in the day, and I was fortunate to be on one specific guy. I did 3 of his courses, and he was very good at it. But the problem is, the average person out there selling those courses, they're selling a bit of a pipe dream, and it's all smoke and mirrors. And I know in the US there's some massive lawsuits, and some folks have gone to jail for claims they've made of their income. So it's definitely something. Maybe I'm just a born skeptic, but I always take it with a knippy stoat before I jump on board.
It's great to hear from somebody who's done some of those courses also. Because I always because I'm so extremely skeptical, I won't sign up for those courses very often. I'm like, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
No, for sure. And I think the reality is there's more scalums out there than there are the really good people that would help. And I think in South Africa, we are fortunate. I don't think or I haven't seen any South African people selling those types of courses that I feel are all smoke and mirrors with no substance. I think the handful of people in South Africa doing that, they've got the best interests at heart, and they provide decent support. But I think it is still, I think what I've seen is, when people enter into a course like that, they always tend to be, even though some people might admit being a pessimist, they are always super optimistic about what their results are going to be. And those courses, you will usually say something along the lines of, your mileage may vary, your results might not be the same. These are not typical results. People tend to be super optimistic in it, and expect big things. And that is not as easy as it sounds always.
Yes. I think optimism is the tool that keeps entrepreneurs going. And sometimes it can also be our Achilles heel. I remember one year I was at a business incubator and I launched a new product, and I was like, this is going to be the game changer. And when I look back in retrospect at that product, it never took off. The early tests that we did said it was going to do well. You know, the first people we showed the product to raved about it, and it just crashed and burned. You just never know.
Yeah, it's tough, because I think entrepreneurs have to be optimistic, otherwise you would struggle to get up every day. And I mean, it's fighting the good fight every single day. And I mean, having to deal with the ups and the downs, where the downs feel super low and the highs don't always feel as high. You have to be an optimist at heart. And I never thought I was one, but now I know, flip, if I'm not, then I would have thrown in the towel a long time ago.
Yes.
But I think the danger there is, sometimes if we are over optimistic, and maybe there's a little bit of naivety in there, we might take on things that we should not be taking on. It might split our focus on what we are working on.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
there's always a fine line there for me, and
yes.
I still stray across it very often.
Do you feel that the longer you're self-employed, the less employable you become?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. When the months are not going as well, the bank account isn't where it's supposed to be, and invoices are late being paid, then it's easy to think back that it would be so cushy to just get a salary and just show up to work, and somebody else needs to bring in the clients. You basically just have to do one thing.
Mm,
But the reality is, I can, in the middle of the day, have this conversation with you.
mm,
This afternoon, I can finish up early and go somewhere with my wife and my kids.
mm,
I might also have to work until 1 this morning, but that is just that part of it. At least I know when I'm putting those long hours, I'm doing it for myself and my family and for my business. And
mm,
when I lay that foundation, I build that foundation strong enough, that is going to pay off in the long run.
mm, mm, mm. So, who is your ideal customer?
So we are actually trying to do a little bit of an exercise around that, because I think that is always very difficult in the entrepreneurial world. And that's where the over optimism comes in, thinking that we can and should take on every client that comes to us. Um, so we, I think, so I read a book earlier this year called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And that book has changed how we do everything, from building websites to my partner's Facebook campaigns to the SEO, even to the way we talk about our business. So when a client understands the value of storytelling in their marketing, I think that to me is a big plus. Some people might not buy into it, and that's always to me a bit of a sign that we might not work well together. I think for me, we don't have a target industry as such right now. We tend to get good results for what we call service-based businesses. Usually the types of companies that will do something at your house, from repairing the swimming pool to the garden service, to the landscaping, maybe installing a braai, doing some renovations, the plumber, the electrician, waterproofing, roofing, gutter cleaning. So those guys we tend to get really good results for through SEO.
Mm,
When we think of Facebook ads, that typically works, that can work very well for e-commerce sites and visual industries like restaurants and spas maybe. So there is a wide variety of businesses that we can work with, and our client base now is spread across a bunch of industries. So I think for us at the moment still, because we're still a fairly young business, we prefer, or we enjoy working with people that see the value of storytelling in their marketing. We enjoy working with people that trust us as the experts. I think we have moved past the point in our business where we don't want to feel just like somebody that's being paid to hit the keyboard. We want to work with our clients, almost in a team or in a partnership, working together, and not just being a service provider in that regard.
mm, mm. So, you basically offer search engine optimization services. Can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what you do for customers?
Yes. So SEO is basically the art of pleasing Google so that your website ranks well organically. So if you think of we call it a SERP, or a search engine results page, there's usually, in a competitive industry, there will be 4 results at the top that can be Google ads. That's the pay-per-click thing, where you have to pay for every single click you get to your website. That works very much on a bit of an auction basis. So the more people that show up to the auction willing to bid on those keywords, the more expensive they can be. It is a very powerful way to market, but it's also a very easy way to, I always say it can be a bit of a fire hose if you don't set it up correctly,
Mm,
and your budget will fly out.
mm,
So Google Ads is definitely not my thing. Then for some searches, there will be what we call the map pack. That's where your Google My Business listing would show. That's typically for the like the waterproofers, the landscapers. If you search for a service provider in your area, you'll see the little map. Usually there's 3 red pins on it, and there's 3 listings below the map. So that Google My Business Maps optimization is also a service we provide. My opinion is that is the most powerful way for online marketing for any business that is very local. Local can be the greater Pretoria area, but if we're talking about even the medical professionals, veterinarians, those are typically people I would look for a veterinarian in my area or a landscaper in my area. So the maps do very, very well for those types of businesses. Below that then is what we call the normal organic results. So Google has a algorithm or a recipe that they use to determine whether my website or your website is more relevant for a specific keyword. So a keyword might be, it could be website designer Pretoria, it could be landscaper Garsfontein, it could be best podcasting software. So for all of these searches, there will be websites ranking organically. And I always say SEO is part science, part art. The art, I say, stands for, A is for the authority of your website, R is for the relevance of your website, and then T is for the technical health of your website. So the technical health being all the things from broken links to 404s to being secure to being well optimized to loading fast, the canonicals, all the stuff that's super boring to most people. And then the relevance is what we call the on-page optimization. So that's sprinkling the right keywords in the right places, using the heading tags, using the right content format. Sometimes we include schema in that. That's again a very technical, boring concept. But that also relates to your site structure. Let's say if we wanted to rank for best podcasting software, if there's 10 blogs ranking for it and I want to rank for it with an e-commerce site, I might have a bit of a struggle there. So it's always looking at what the other people are doing. The one good thing about SEO is Google gives us the roadmap of what we need to do. For any keyword out there, you can put it into Google, you can see what the other guys are doing or ladies are doing, and you can pretty much copy that. Maybe not copy in the sense of word for word, but I mean, create similar content with the similar, what we call intent. And if you tick enough of those boxes, you should do well.
So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are watching, who are trying to understand how to get their businesses online in an effective way?
Yeah, there's plenty. I think in the online world, it might sound like networking isn't very valuable, but I think that's probably the most valuable lesson I've learned recently in the last 14 months for my businesses. Networking is incredibly important. Speaking to people in the same industry as you or in the same boat as you, trying to attempt the same thing as you, reach out to them. I recently had a very quick phone call with the founder of Parcel Ninja. He founded Superbalist and he sold Superbalist. And in the space of 10 minutes in that phone call, we managed to double the profit from an e-commerce website from a 10-minute phone call. This is a person I'm going to try and speak to him again because I want to have more of those phone calls, but I might never speak to him again. And I mean, that just shows you the value of getting a little tidbit or a little nugget of not wisdom, but just advice that I think part of being an entrepreneur is also the imposter syndrome catches up with I think most of us. And sometimes when you speak to other people, you understand they go through the same thing. And then that just puts you in a better spot. I think entrepreneurs also tend to solve the same problems. But for me, sharing which problems I'm going for gives me another person's perspective on what I can do to solve it. And just knowing that I'm not the only person going through that problem usually helps me a lot to feel more comfortable with it.
So
so networking to me.
Is that how you push through your tough times? You chat with the right people at the right time?
So I'm fortunate now that I'm part of a business networking group. where that allows me to chat to lots of other business owners. These are typically not online businesses; they're more, call them offline businesses. But I mean, they tend to go through the same issues. I mean, getting sales, how to do effective marketing, how to attract clients, how to do your operational stuff, how to do your financial planning, how to budget, what should profit margins be, those type of things. Those are these. I used to think online businesses are completely different to other businesses, but in reality, is the bigger concepts apply to all business.
That's very valuable insight. Thank you. So, what are your biggest challenges in your business today?
So I think as an entrepreneur, the challenge that I still struggle the most with is the ups and the downs. Even when we land a big deal, it feels great for a little while, but as entrepreneurism go, the next moment something else might break. So we deal with websites that go down and break and sometimes get hacked, and so there's lots of fires to put out. And then sometimes there are the slow weeks and the slow months, and that's still something to get used to. So I'm not great at dealing with that just yet. I certainly need to improve with that. And then I think one other challenge that I personally need to get more comfortable with is to let go of more of the work. I tend to want to do everything myself, but we're at the point now where I have to get more help, whether that's an employee or two or subcontractors, but I need more help. My time is already finished and klar. And yeah, I need to learn to let go and to let other people do stuff.
I think those two challenges are common to all of us. And I don't know about you, but I've always been fascinated in my entrepreneurial journey that in the moments when I have my biggest highs, there's always a backstory going on where something else is breaking. That I never am quite allowed to just let it all go to my head.
No, unfortunately, so I had a similar situation yesterday. So I heard of a great opportunity on Monday, and this was mulling through my head, making my whole head spin and tear mekaar. And then yesterday, as I'm high on this side for this new opportunity, there's this other piece of news that's bad and that can jeopardize this whole opportunity. So now I'm kind of stuck, and I don't know which way to go. And so I think, yeah, that's part of almost the day to day.
And I think very often when we hear about success stories of entrepreneurs, we've received a filtered version of what's really going on for them.
For sure. And I think sometimes they use those filtered stories to sell some of those courses we spoke about. Because the hearing about all the lows and the nitty gritty and some of the other stuff might not sell those courses.
Absolutely. So what do you enjoy the most about entrepreneurship and being your own boss?
So back in my days as an employee, as a software developer, we kept being swallowed up by bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger companies. So we started out as a small little fish that could change direction quickly and could do pretty much anything we wanted. And eventually we were the big whale in the room where we could not change or do anything very quickly at all. And that to me was quite frustrating, knowing that something was not working well, but having to have meetings upon meetings and forms upon forms talking about it, and it might be 3 or 6 months later and nothing's still been done. What I love about entrepreneurial ventures, like that phone call I mentioned, I had a phone call for 10 minutes. The guy gave us I think it was 3 or 4 bits of advice. And right after the call, we could implement it and we could immediately see the results. That's what I really enjoy. Just before this phone call, I found some incredible email templates that we're going to start using in our project. And I mean, that's going to start happening from today. I'm going to start using them from today. That's what I enjoy. If there's improvements to be made, let's not waste any time. Let's not debate it. Let's not have meetings about it. We're not filling in forms about it. If we know it's going to work, we implement it right away. And the business is, because you can do that, the business is 1 or 2% better today. And I always say, if you're improving every single day, over the course of a year, you're going to be in a place that you might not have expected. So that's kind of my motto, is being a little bit better every day. Some days it doesn't feel like you get there and you achieve it. Some other days you have a good day again. But that for me is always the strive. What can we do just a little bit better?
Mm, mm. That's wonderful insight. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our chat today. It's been very insightful and very enjoyable. Now, if anybody is wanting to get in touch with you to contact you about your services, where can we find you online?
So for our services, our website would be best, clickresults.co.za. And then anybody going through the whole entrepreneurial venture is welcome to add me on my personal Facebook and reach out there. I'd love to chat with them.
Okay, and I will be adding your contact info into the description of this video when I upload it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. It was great fun.
Oh, no, it was awesome. Thank you. I learned a lot from our chat today, and I'm sure that the people watching will do the same.
Awesome.